Alright, so I'm going to go over a few practice problems on how to do the sum of the interior angles of polygons. And so remember from the chart that you did in the notes earlier, you find the sum of the interior of any type of polygon by subtracting 2 from the number of sides, which is in this equation, which gives you the number of triangles, and then you multiply that by 180, and then you get the sum of the interior angles of that polygon. So remember, the sum of the interior angles of any polygon differs compared to whatever polygon you're using. And so here's the formula just kind of written out again. S, which is the sum of the interior angles, is equal to the number of sides n minus 2, and that's what n stands for, times 180. So we're going to go through a couple of example problems just so you can see how to go about these. So the example 1 says find the sum of the interior angles of a polygon. So kind of right away, it's a straight up problem. A 15 will have 15 sides, so we're just going to plug it into the formula. So S is equal to 15 minus 2 times 180. And so 15 minus 2 is 13 times 180. And then you multiply those together and you end up with 2,340 degrees. So that means all the angles inside of a 15-gon will add up to 2,340 degrees. All right, example 2. This one says find the sum of the interior angles of the polygon shown. So it's very similar to question 1, except for you just have to count up the number of sides on this shape. And when you do, this shape has 9 sides. So we're kind of going to do like we did in example 1, where the sum of the interior is equal to the number of sides, which is 9 minus 2 times 180. So we end up with 7 times 180. That out of the way. You multiply those together, you get 1,260 degrees. That's there. So that means all the angles inside of this figure, when I add them up, they should add up to 1,260 degrees. All right, let's look at example 3. This one says 5 angles of a hexagon. And remember, a hexagon has 6 sides. Measure 119 degrees, 129 degrees, 104 degrees, 139 degrees, and 95 degrees. What is the measure of the 6th angle? So they only gave you 5. You know there should be 6, and we want to find the 6th. So first of all, we have to figure out what the sum of the interior of a hexagon is. So we're going to go about that same way. 6 minus 2 times 180 degrees. That's where you get the 4 times 180. And you end up that the sum is 720 degrees. Now, but that's not the question they asked us. They want us to know what is the 6th angle. And they gave us 5. So we know all 6 of them together have to add up to 720 degrees. So we're going to do x, because that's going to be my 6th angle, plus the ones given, plus the 119, plus the 129, 104, 139, and 95. And all 6 of those together have to add up to 720. Now this is just combine like terms and solve. So when we combine all these, we get x plus 586 is equal to 720. And then we're just taking away what they gave us and see what's left over. So we subtract here, and we end up with 134 degrees. So we know that 6th angle has to be 134 degrees if those are the measurements of the other 5 angles. Okay? Okay, so let's look at example 4. It says a convex polygon has vertices A, B, C, D, E, and F. What is the sum of the interior angles of this polygon? So we know we're trying to find the sum of the interior. So we know that is the S equals n minus 2 times 180. So we need to figure out the number of sides. Well, the number of sides is always going to be equal to the number of vertices. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 vertices. So we'll have 6 sides. So our sum is going to be equal to 6 minus 2 times 180 degrees. So that's 4 times 180. And we just did this on the last problem. So that's 720 degrees. So the sum of this convex polygon has the sum of the interior measures of 720 degrees. All right, example 5 is very similar to example 3, but it's in picture form. I gave you a shape, I gave you most of the angles, and I want you to find one more. So the first thing we need to do is actually find example, how many sides this has. So we count this up. This is a pentagon, so it has 5 sides. Okay. So now we got to figure out, well, what should a pentagon add up to in the interior? So 5 minus 2 times 180. And this is 3 times 180, which gives you 540 degrees. So we know all 5 of these angles inside need to add up to 540 degrees. So now let's figure out what this x value is. So we're going to add them all up. So we get x plus 133 plus the 90 degrees plus 102 degrees plus the 95 degrees. And all 5 of those have to add up to 540 degrees. And so now we just go ahead and solve this. We're going to combine the like terms. And we end up with x is equal to 120 degrees. Okay? So we know this value here has to be 120 because this is a pentagon. And the last one. It says the sum of the interior angles of a polygon is 1,620 degrees. How many sides does the polygon have? Well, now we're trying to find the number of sides. All the questions before, we had to do something with finding the sum. But this time they gave us the sum. But this just means I can work backwards in the equation to figure out how many sides there are. So we know the sum is 1,620. Then here's the equation we need to solve. And so in order to get this by itself, because the 180 is being multiplied to the n minus 2, we can divide by 180 to separate it. So when we do this, we end up with 9 equals n minus 2. Be careful not to stop at 9. One of the biggest mistakes is students divide by the 180 and then they think they're done. But they actually have to go back and add the 2, because remember, we end up subtracting the 2 off. And so now 11 equals n. Okay? And then you can always, with this type of question, go back and check to make sure your answer makes sense. Plug it in to make sure you actually end up with what you're supposed to, which is this 1,620 degrees. All right. And so that's it.